This is a music industry announcement, a conversation that needs to be started. I hope this goes viral. Songwriters, pay attention, especially Black songwriters. This is for you. As many times as I see podcasts talk about the music industry and all these guys talking about hip hop and all that stuff like that, and artists and who's going to take the industry down and XYZ. One conversation that I never hear any of them talk about is copyright termination. And simply copyright termination means the author of a work, a song, has the right to terminate the publishing after a certain point. Before 1978, it was 56 years. After 1978, it was 35 years. So I successfully terminated my father's songwriting catalog and got that publishing back from my family. But guess what? It's 2025. So that means 1990 was really when hip hop and sampling started to take off. So surprise, it's 35 years later, and a lot of hip hop records are up for copyright termination. But I bet a lot of the songwriters of these songs do not know this, and the publishers aren't telling them. Some of the biggest songs that I can think of 1990 are like Mama Said Knock You Out, Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe. Of course, Mind Playing Tricks on Me by the Ghetto Boys. So you need to be terminating the publishing to those records so it comes back to you. So whatever publishing company has your publishing, you got to file termination notices to get that publishing back. And the reason why a lot of these guys aren't talking about this is most of them don't know. A lot of them don't know. I just saw the Sly Family Stone documentary, and I was wondering if Sly Stone got his publishing back. Because what happens is there's only a window of time that you're allowed to get your publishing back. Like you actually serve notice to the Copyright Office and they terminate the publishing and it comes back to you like it came back to my family. If you miss that window, you lose it forever. And a lot of times people will come and try to buy your publishing and give you a massive check and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that hip hop is such a massive multi-billion-dollar industry, and it was built off of Black music from sampling and Black writers as rappers that make sure that you are terminating the publishing to all these records. So all these rappers need to be getting attorneys and finding a way to terminate your publishing. It's not even finding a way, it's just terminating your publishing. I know how to do it. I've been doing it, but it's okay to know that you don't know, because the wealth that's going to be attained by streaming companies who have the publishing and the writers' rights and all this stuff over the next 20, 30 years, it's going to be an enormous amount of songs coming back. So there's more terminations that I have to do with my father's catalog. And then there are hip hop terminations that are coming up because, again, Isaac Hayes is one of the most sampled artists ever, and we're terminating those records too. So find your attorney. If not, shoot me a DM. I'm telling you, I know a lot of you don't know this, but there's a lot of records that are up for termination this year and every year subsequently after that. I know Uncle Luke got some records. I know Vanilla Ice got some records. There's a lot of people that the publishing portion of these songs, not the writer shares, you might have sold that. It might be gone. All this stuff might be gone, but get your publishing. It is yours. You have the right to terminate it. Now let everybody talk about that instead of all this other foolishness we talk about with the music industry. Go get your publishing.
You try to break the game, but you can't fake influence. You get on it like that. Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like what? Mustard on a beat, deep out in rap, he a freak, Yeah, they tried to break the game, but you.
Good morning. Dr. Chavis doing down with Kendrick Lamar. Welcome to Let It Be Known News. I am your host, Stacy Brown. On the other side of the glass.
I'm Niele, your co-host, and this is the play. Good morning. I'm Niele, your co-host. Can you hear me, Stacy?
I can hear you well.
Okay, good. Okay, good morning, America.
So, folks, this is where we amplify Black voices and headlines that reflect or impact the Black experience. And there's a lot going on. And like I said, Dr. Che was getting into the Black experience. Not that he hasn't already been in the Black experience, though. Shoot, do you really want to do this? Are you really gonna do it? He did it. Oh God, David Youngblood, I am feeling better than I was last Wednesday. That's for sure. I'm getting there. I'm just about home, just about there.
Good.
Yeah, I appreciate David. See, Orangey, he don't care. He just counting his money on his mattress and not even concerned about anybody else. But
Mhm.
David has always got your back. So,
Yeah, I got a chance to meet David Youngblood last week in DC. It was so nice to have conversation with him, fellowship, and that he watches the show. I mean, I know he watches the show, but he actually knew some things that I had said and said it. I was like, okay, you're listening to me. I appreciate that.
yeah, David is like when we can't get in touch with our legal folks, David is the one that kind of lets us know what's right and wrong legally. So
Right. Okay.
he
Okay.
sends us these messages. Hey, no, this is what the law says. This is what whatever. So David is the man.
Good
We
to know
appreciate him.
when I need some legal advice.
But the publishing thing. I don't know that that's new news to folks in the business. Um, it's just a matter of perhaps what Isaac Hayes the third did was really highlighting is like that window might close because folks get complacent on stuff, and
Mhm.
we're seeing publishing rights being sold for so much money. You got young artists selling their publishing. Justin Bieber sold his a couple of years ago. I think he
Right.
made like $80 million off his, and that's on the low end of what we're seeing these artists get for their publishing. And can you imagine, say, LL Cool J's publishing? Because he mentioned LL, Mama Said Knock You Out, Two Live Crews. Their publishing rights, so many others you could name from that period that Isaac was talking about. He mentioned Bell Biv DeVoe. Just imagine the price on these things.
Yeah, it's something to pay attention to, but it's also about education. I remember back in the day, we used to have these conferences like the Urban Network or Jack the Rapper. And they were places where artists could come and learn things about the business and how to amplify your message, but also the business side of things. And so they had attorneys there, they had the labels there, but most importantly, it was a gathering of the artists to own their space and not
Mhm.
just be performers, but to be business people. And so those types of conferences and festivals are missed during times like this because actually that is the time where Black artists were able to take ownership and power in what they were doing in the industry. And they learned so much. And then now all those things are gone away. And then we have Isaac Hayes talking about stories like this.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, if you remember, and certainly I know Orange G loves the 90s, but TLC, that whole situation back then, they were selling records after records. They were selling out shows, and they were the top group, pre Destiny's Child, and they were broke. I never
Yeah.
forget the press conference that they held, and
And then they blame
they
Pebbles for that.
they blamed Pebbles for it, and because of the contract. But the argument wasn't really, you got to know what you're signing as well. I remember that argument back then as well. You got to know what you're signing, and back then, and I think artists for the most part have evolved. But back
Mhm.
then, it was about the glitz. It was only about the glitz. And the thinking that just because my name is out there and we're doing big things, I'm gonna get paid.
But
When
I think it's also a level of trust too. Like to your point, the
oh
devil
yeah,
is in the details, but
hmm
it's a matter of trust too. You
hmm
think that you see me as a talent, you see how much I can contribute to your bottom line. I expect
hmm
you to do the right thing, but of course you have to have attorneys, you have to have managers to be able to protect you, but I think it was a level of naivety that these
it
artists had.
was. It was, but anytime anybody, I don't care who they are, you could be a relative. If somebody puts a contract in front of you, that means that you gotta, at the very least, read it, but you should have a professional, somebody who's paid to read contracts. And in their contracts, basically, it was just everything was going back to the label. And in this case, you mentioned Pebbles, it was going back to her and Face and those guys. And they would, they had to sell 12 million records to make $500 pretty much. It
Right.
was like, it was something crazy like that. And
And part
so,
I was just gonna say, and part of it too is, like the devil is in the details. Like you get an advance check, you're in these lavish studios for weeks. What they didn't realize and what they don't realize is that all of that comes out of the bottom line. So
yep.
yeah, you may pull in $1 million or $100 million, but you have to go back and pay for all that studio time, all the advancement, all the
Hmm.
makeup that you get, the video shoots, all of that comes out of the big picture, which makes your number decrease, decrease, and
Hmm.
decrease. And those are the things, back in the day, Barry Gordy, what did they used to have? Artist grooming. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
they sold into the artist and they just got away from that. And so you don't know. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. Well, no, you have to pay for your video. You have to pay for your
Hmm.
studio time.
Hmm.
And that's what
Yeah.
happens.
And when you think about even beyond the 90s with the records, in the 80s and 70s and beyond, um, you would make an album and generally be like 9 songs on the album, and the album would sell for maybe $20, right? And
Mhm.
of that $20, the artist got like 40 cents, unless you were like a Michael Jackson who was getting something like $6 an album.
Mhm.
Um, but that was like you said, and I think what Greer's saying too has a lot of merit too, because she says it's a shame though for Black folks employing the tricks of the devil on their own. She says Pebbles was wrong, and no way she could justify that to them. She could justify it, doesn't mean it was right,
Right.
because what it really, listen, listen, somebody's making money like TLC. Um, I knew their music director, and the things that they would do on the road was incredible. But somebody making you money like that, you should want to take care of them so that
Mm.
money train would continue. At some point, you had to know, Pebbles and anybody else, all these other executives, that um, that contract was going to expire. Somebody was going to hip them to this, and it was gonna be a problem. But you didn't care because your pockets would keep getting fatter and fatter.
But you have to realize too, it wasn't as if Pebbles was this knowledgeable, big music industry vet. She was an artist herself who just happened to stumble upon these three girls, and her man was LaFayette Reed, L.A. Reed, and she. So I'm not saying that shouldn't be held
No, I get what you're
accountable for
saying.
what she
Yeah.
did, but she was just as much as an artist as they were. She just
Mhm.
was following her man. My man's an exec. I'm being exec,
Right.
and Imma
Right.
learn as I go. And that's pretty much what happened in that situation. So yeah, she should be held accountable, but at the same time, she was just as green as everybody else in the room.
Well, Bison for Life says every Motown artist either sued or left the label. That's not necessarily true, but there was some beef in the Motown family, of course, over um, y- more over freedom than freedom to create than it was over royalties. I think Barry Gordy did a good job taking care of those who took care of him. But that was more Bison. It was the Motown story was more of them, the artistic freedom that Barry would not that Barry wouldn't give them. She says you capping for light skinned girls.
Who?
Career.
That's you learn as you go, you learn as you go.
Yeah, yeah. Um, royalties. This song publishing rights is so important for these artists. As I said at the top, you got so many selling their publishing for tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. So,
Mhm.
in that sense, the bottom line, Isaac Hayes the third is absolutely correct. You gotta you know, you got to take note, guys and girls, and look at these younger ones who are already like making all these hits like Megan and Cardi and of course Nicki and all. Hopefully they understand that publishing is the key.
Well, this younger generation is totally different. They're not even going the label route. They're taking
That's true
ownership
too.
of their projects. They are putting out their music independently. And they're not really depending on the labels because they really have learned from the past. And so
Right.
you have all of these young artists like 310 Baby, and they're coming up in a different way. They're putting their music on Spotify themselves, on Tidal and Apple Music,
Mhm.
and they're reaping all the benefits from it. And that's the problem that the labels have today with these younger artists is that they can't
Mhm.
control them. They can't control them.
Well, and I think certainly I always say that the younger generation, um, very intelligent generation, but when it comes to street stuff, not so intelligent. But I think so. I
What do
say
you
that
mean
to
by
say
that?
that
Yeah.
well, I say that to say that I don't know that they it was a strategic move to do the streaming as much as it was just forced upon them because labels are just basically they barely exist anymore. And I just think that the streaming is so wide and available. You can just you can just drop something tonight if you wanted to. You can work on something today and
Right.
drop it tonight. And I just think that it's a circumstance for them. Fortunately for them, that circumstance exists. I think Quinn is saying it right. He says when you come out of the hood, the last thing you have is resources to have a team around you. I believe that too. But they have been smart in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, they haven't. The smartest thing they can do is make sure that they protect ownership, as Greer said at the top, as far as the many black folks not having agency over their art. That's been a problem since the beginning of the black man. So
Right. I mean, but I have to give these young kids, like, look at Kendrick Lamar. I mean, I think he's a great example of he left the label, he left TDE, but he still has relationships with Top Dog. But he did say, okay, I've given you the albums that I owe you. Now I'm going out to do my own thing. And you see a lot of artists doing that too. So there is a way that you can go into a partnership with the label and learn and then leave and do your own thing and not have bitterness. Like he's not bitter with Top. He still
mhm,
collaborates with him. They're going on tour with SZA, which is still a Top Dog artist. But
mhm.
he's in a space now to where, I could do this on my own. And I built my own team and now I'm gonna, do it my way.
Yeah, Mike V says before streaming, rappers had to get their money from ringtones. That's interesting. I do remember that very well.
Hmm.
The ringtones.
Right.
It's amazing how things evolve. And this
Hmm.
whole business of music has just really, really evolved. Gosh.
It's like
Well,
we're the culture shapers. We're the culture shapers. We control the culture, but it's so hard for us to own it. And that's
I think you said it
that
best.
like
Hmm.
how do we maintain and control our narrative, which is why the Black press is so important because guess what? We get to do that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And finally, on that topic, Bison for Life says newer artists tend to have different revenue streams like commercials, Twitch, and other social media. That's true as well. And good for them for taking advantage of it. Those who do take advantage of it, that's for sure. All of these platforms that they have, because you have to. And I tell you what, uh, the way this the way things are. Hmm, the more
Hmm.
streams of income you have, because
The
woo,
better.
woo, we in, we in trouble. What's that thing, Greer from Whoopi Goldberg? Greer, she introduced me this a long time ago. She said, "Molly, girl, you in trouble." Oh man, and here's RNG talking about JJ Fad too. He loves his JJ Fad. He's waiting for a DM from JJ Fad.
Oh, he
So
loves him some supersonic.
supersonic. You gotta help him out with that, Neil. You
Um,
gotta you
sama-
gotta
nama-
talk
nama-
to
nama- nama-
JJ.
nama- nama- nama-
Yeah, there
nama.
you go. But you gotta reach out to JJ Fad for RNG and
Okay.
make the introduction.
We'll see what we could do.
But just make sure you wear a bulletproof vest because his wife might come after you after that.
Oh, so okay, so maybe we'll do like a oldie and get JJ Fad on here and see what they think about this conversation.
There you go. There you go. He
I'm
would
not
love
making
you
no
for life.
promises, Orange G. I'm not making no promises, but we'll see what we can do.
We'll see what we could do.
I know somebody that knows somebody.
Uh-oh. So, I know we got a guest coming in soon, but a couple of topics I wanted to get to. He said, please do. He doesn't miss. He don't miss. Um, uh, a few hours ago, Donald Trump made a
Must we?
claim
Must we?
that I
Must we?
know he made a claim that Biden's pardons of members of the January 6th Select Committee are void, vacant, and of no future force or effect. Now, I'm just gonna really just say this. Um, this man really believes. He doesn't just believe that he's a king or a dictator. He just believes that he is above any and everything. Here's a guy, must we remind you, have 34 felony convictions himself, has two adjudicated sexual assault convictions
Mm-hmm.
civilly.
Mm-hmm.
The only president to be twice impeached. Um, the only president who every month that he's been president, the stock market has gone down. The only president that has the every single month that he's been in office, the unemployment rate has risen. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Eh, I keep saying this, Niele, I have never seen a bunch of, led by him, angry, frustrated winners. They won.
I think the bigger picture, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think that, and we continue to talk about what Donald Trump is doing instead of paying attention and taking a play from his book. The closest person that I see doing it is Jasmine Crockett, right?
Hmm.
What Donald Trump is doing, he is pushing the power of that office to the limit. And as long as he's able to push it and is able to get away with it, he is going to do it. So the question is, who's going to stop him? Who going to check him, boo? And it doesn't seem like the Democrats are. It seems like they're not going to be unified.
Oh
It seems like
gosh,
they're going to fold. And
they
so
have.
he is exercising his power, which he won the office. He's entitled to do. But the question is, who's going to check him, boo? And the only person who really doesn't have all the power to do it or the support from her party is Jasmine Crockett. But I do say that it's not fair for us to put democracy on her back. But when I'm
Right.
looking at Donald Trump, I'm looking at somebody in the Democratic Party or somebody to do the same, but in
They
opposition and resistant, and there's no one. There's no
there's
one.
no one, and they capitulated in an awful way this past Friday. We know that they voted against the interests of the Black community and of seniors and of women. They advanced this CR, and safety net programs are going to get hit hard because of it. You know,
Mhm.
Schumer did an about face, and other Democrats, of course, went right along with this, saying that there's nothing really they could do. Yeah, you could have stopped this on Friday, stop some of the bleeding on Friday, and then you refuse to. Um, it's over. Like I said, I think Greer said it before, that, in a text chain, the dam is broken. It's
Right,
done.
right, right.
To allow them. Here's where I didn't. You don't put anything past these folks, these MAGA folks. But here's where I expected them to draw the line with the military, with the veterans. I expected them to draw the line with veterans, and they did not. They have kicked the veterans to the curb. They've attacked the VA, Social Security, we know, Medicaid, Medicare, things that the veterans certainly depend on. All veterans benefits are being hit hard because of this bill that they passed to keep the government open for 6 months, when there were several other alternatives, several that they never considered. They never spoke to Democrats. That's what makes it worse. That they never even spoke. And the fact that Schumer and you got to put a lot of this on the leadership, and Schumer is the leader. And
Mm.
the fact that they never even it was never even included in the talks with the bill, and then had it jammed down their throats. And the fact there is that you had the votes to stop it. It's the same filibuster that they claim, oh, we can't get the Democrats claim, oh, we can't get reparations passed. We can't get the George Floyd Justice and Police Act passed. We can't get the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act passed because of the filibuster. Well, it's the same. It was the same thing. They they used that argument to stop all progress for black and brown people, black people in particular. And the
Right.
Republicans, as we knew they would, what did they do? That's filibuster doesn't mean anything to us.
Right. But see, all of these conversations are not resonating with the general public. That's why it's not penetrating. But when you have stories come out like postal workers are being cut, we know that a lot of our family members are postal workers, right? We know
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of our family members are federal workers. And I feel like that's when it's going to really resonate with the people, because us who love politics, we could talk about what's happening on the Hill and all of that, but it's like it's not really resonating until it hits home. And what's hitting home for me is that I feel like Trump and his clan are going after black jobs,
Without question.
specifically, going after black people. I don't know why. There was a video that's beginning to circulate from Donald Trump talking about how he fears educated black people. And I think I put it in the chat. I hope that we can
Yeah.
share it today or tomorrow. But Donald Trump talking about, and this was like from the 80s, and
Mm-hmm.
how he was in
Mm-hmm.
fear of, black educated people were a
Yep.
threat.
I saw it.
And so when you hear him say things like that, and you see how he's moving in that White House, there is a mandate from that Trump clan to go after black people, primary, and then people of color. And I want that to be the message that gets out to us, is that he
Mm-hmm.
is coming for us. He is trying to get us to go back and pick them strawberries. Okay. He wants us to pick that fruit.
100%. Yep.
And so these are the things that, pisses me off when you talk about Chuck Schumer and them, because that's what I see. I see him coming after me. So when I see those 10 white Democrats complying with him, I see the liberalists, they still gonna side. White people gonna do white things. And that's what that says to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I think you're 1,000% right. And um notice nobody's talking about people eating dogs and cats, right? They're not talking about that's
I'm
crazy stuff, right? Just notice that. And
right.
but you're right, all that dog whistle stuff about the taking black jobs. um you knew then, a lot of us knew then what he meant. And now he's showing you, like you said, they are coming for us. And
They're
they
coming
they
for
want
us.
us, like you said, picking those strawberries that he's sending. He's getting rid of all of those migrant workers who did that. And that's where they want us. See, that even the picture of it
Right, right,
evokes a
right.
lot of things. Just the
Right.
picture of it.
Right. It's systemic, because you want to take us back because black folks is too educated, but then you got your friends over at the prison system, core and geo civic. You're finding you using the immigrants to pack their jails and their prisons to make money for them. So they are just regurgitating a system that they created to oppress people of color. And Donald Trump is in. He understands the assignment. It's in this lineage. We are the ancestors. We are their wildest dreams. But Donald Trump is the Klan's wildest dream. And he doing Klan stuff. And we over here trying to do our stuff. It's just infuriating. But our guests are here, and I think it falls in line with this conversation
Okay.
when we talk about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Yesterday, I was with Dr. Melina Abdullah. They did Black Women Are Divine, leader of Black Lives Matter grassroots movement. And we did something called Say Their Names. And so this morning, our guest, we're going to talk about some names that you should know, that we should be saying, and that we should be amplifying. And although in Washington, D.C., they're trying to dismantle Black Lives Matter on the street, the cry is still important today. And so today we're going to head down to Knoxville, Tennessee. And joining us now is Angela Dennis, who is a race and social justice reporter, and Rashid Woods, Knoxville director of Renounce Denounce Gang Intervention Program. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, we do something in Black Lives Matter called Say Their Names. And so I want the two of you to say the names of the two individuals that we're talking about today.
David Batts and Daevon St. Germain.
Tell us about their story.
Okay, so first off, you have Daevon St. Germain. He was an 18-year-old high school student. He had an incident with the Knox County Sheriff's Department. He posted on Instagram a song lyric. I think it was a Little Baby and Lil Durk song called The Last Load. Inside that song lyric, it talks about, it's a rap song. It talks about going to school and making this my last load, whatever. He posted that song lyric on Instagram. The Knox County Sheriff's Department, they obtained a warrant for his arrest. A search warrant. A search warrant for this song lyric. During that search warrant, they went in with maximum force. They didn't go in like they were going in for an 18-year-old high school student. And in the serving of that search warrant, his family was detained. At the time, inside the house, there was his mother, his grandmother, his grandmother. I think maybe his father may have been at work. And there were two small children, two juveniles. They went inside the house. People on top of the house going in, kind of military style. And they shot that young man 9 times, woke him up out of his bed and shot him 9 times. Their story has changed. At first, they said that when they went into the room, he brandished a firearm. That's their statement. Inside the word brandish in law, in legal terms, it means that you showed the weapon without force. Like I'm just showing you the weapon. So they said that he brandished it. That's why he killed him. So then, when everything comes out, they said that they wrestled him down, and as he got wrestled down, he reached for a gun and pointed it at an officer, which is in conflict to their first statement that they gave. This young man, like I said, he was a high school student. He was 18. He was 140 pounds soaking wet. You're going in with maximum force with the SWAT team. There's no way you can, as he was on the ground, he can reach for a gun and you still shoot him 9 times. Their story really makes no sense.
It sounds like a Breonna Taylor story.
It sounds exactly. It does. It has a lot of those kind of things contained within it. It's the same story. They're trained to tell those types of stories.
And of course, I think what's also important to note in that particular incident, also, none of the SWAT officers at that time were wearing any body cameras.
Exactly. There was no body cameras. There was no body cameras worn by the SWAT team. And also the family's cameras were confiscated. So the cameras from the house that they actually went in, they had surveillance of their own inside the house and outside the house. Some of those cameras were confiscated and some of them were broken by law enforcement officers.
So here's what I'm having a hard time with, among other things, and I'm sure you guys are having a hard time with. One of the reports say that the officers told a forensic investigator that they fired because the student pointed an assault rifle at them after he, quote, ended up on the floor following a, quote, physical altercation. How is he pointing a assault rifle at them after they have wrestled him onto the floor? And they're in the middle of this, all these officers and this one individual, as you described, 140 pounds soaking wet. That doesn't seem to make sense at all. It shouldn't make sense to a district attorney who says that what's the district attorney Allen announced that no charges will be filed. How does that make any sense?
I mean, you wrestle a 140-year-old kid to the ground, and you still shoot him 9 times. That it, like, the story doesn't make sense. How do I shoot you 9 times and you're already wrestled to the ground with people already, engaged with you? That it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
So you mentioned too, and both of you can speak to this. I really need to know that they got a warrant because of some rap lyrics.
Yes.
Yes, that he
Was
shared
there
on
any?
Instagram.
Yeah, was there any other things listed in the probable cause affidavit for this warrant?
I think in the warrant it just said specifically that he was. So they obtained the warrant, but they didn't say it was a rap lyric. Like, when you go look at it, it came out that it was a rap lyric. They were saying it. They were saying that it was his personal thoughts and beliefs or whatever. He was saying it. So they said that he said that he was going to go sell drugs at school and it was going to be his last load.
So they sent a SWAT team because he said he was going to sell drugs at school.
Yes. And and I think the search warrant said that they were looking for carts, vapes, marijuana, firearms. They took all of the devices out of the home. They took everybody's device.
What previous interaction did he have with police?
I'm not for sure, but I do not think that he was. I mean, he wasn't he didn't already have any kind of charges pending.
Right.
Anybody in his family did have any previous? Because it sounds like for some reason this kid was targeted for a reason here.
It does sound like he was targeted. Not that I know of. Not that anything has came out saying that he was already on their radar for anything, or I'm not for sure. I've never heard of anything where he was graduating high school.
Right. I think what makes this topic so important is we're talking about the purpose of Black Lives Matter, and we look at the mural being destroyed, but we understand why it's so important. And one of the terms that they use in Black Lives Matter is sanctioned violence by police.
Mhm.
Now, within a week, we're talking about this young man, Daevon, but within a week, something else happened. Angela, I
Right.
saw your post
Mhm.
on Black No Chaser. And tell us about David Batts. What happened to him? This all happened now. Let it be known, family, within a week's time. We're talking about Daevon, and then what happened to David?
Right. So in the case of David Batts, I mean, obviously you saw, the terrible injuries and him laying in the hospital bed. According to the police account, he was earlier in the day, he was at work. He worked for the Knoxville Area Transit, which is the public bus transportation system here. And he was having some type of a medical emergency. At some point, the police came to the scene and ended up taking him to the University of Tennessee Medical Center here. And somewhere, between the time that they brought him to the I guess the emergency room and was at the hospital, they end up charging him with sexual assault, where, a couple of, I believe, nurses, allege that he, sexually assaulted him while he was laying on the stretcher. Next thing you know, they take him, they charge him, take him to the Knox County Detention Center, which is the local jail here. And, you know, he sustains these injuries in the jail that you see on the photos. And then he's brought back to the UT Medical Center, and ends up dying in the hospital. And District Attorney Sharm Allen, their ruling was that he died of meningitis.
Mm.
You know, and no answers to the injuries or anything to his face or the beating that he took in the jail.
It's so interesting. I think about like Breonna Taylor one. Now I'm thinking about Sandra Bland. The sheriff's department in Knoxville, we talk about Black Lives Matter. This is what it's all about. Why do you think this hasn't garnered any national attention? This happened over a month ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's been a number of, you know, I've obviously over the years, I've covered a number of incidents. The Knox County Sheriff's Office has just faced, you know, increasing scrutiny over, you know, issues related to transparency and accountability. You know, I covered a story a couple of years ago where there was a Black young man who was working inside of Starbucks on his shift, the manager, and, you know, they swarmed the drive-through, you know, stating that they were looking for someone. The Starbucks manager ends up on the ground outside. They beat him. They end up taking him to jail, charging him with resisting arrest. And he sustained, you know, permanent injuries to himself. And after the camera footage was released, the district attorney ended up dropping the charges, but this young man is still, you know, scarred for life from this incident. There was never any accountability from that. We tried to request body camera footage, and, you know, to this day, 2 years later, we still have seen nothing. And that's the issue with this department, is that there just isn't, you know, any accountability. You know, and cases like this have just really led over the years to, you know, advocacy groups and activists and community members here on the ground, you know, pushing for just more independent oversight and, you know, better de-escalation training, mandated body camera footage. The meeting that you saw in the video that we shared on Black with No Chaser, obviously that public meeting was, you know, came about through Rashad's, it took him circulating a petition, which garnered nearly 2,000 signatures to press for that meeting. And, you know, Rashad can also talk about that. But this is the first time that we've seen, you know, Sheriff Tom Spangler really, you know, even listen to the community. But a lot of individuals there feel like, you know, nothing really was accomplished.
Angela, we know that this is a problem nationwide, has been a problem nationwide. But can you tell us a little bit more about Knoxville in particular, the history between Knoxville police and African Americans?
Yes. So here in Knoxville, we've got two law enforcement agencies. We've got the Knoxville Police Department and we've got the Knox County Sheriff's Department, which are two separate entities. You know, both have had a history, poor relations with the Black community here. The other issue is that the Black community here makes up approximately 17% of the population. So we are definitely underrepresented and a little underpowered as well.
Wow.
Mm.
Niele.
Mm. So where do the two cases stand now, or what's your next plan of action? I pose that to the both of you.
Right now, I mean, in the case of David Batts, they obviously have ruled that this is, you know, that he died of meningitis. In the case of Daevon, from that meeting, Sheriff Tom Spangler did share that SWAT officers now are required and are wearing body cameras, is what he said. So, you know, right now that's where it stands, but I don't think that that's necessarily good enough for the community, and I'll let Rashad speak to that.
Yeah, that I mean, still just saying that they're gonna wear, I mean, him just giving his word like, hey, we didn't know that they were wearing body cameras, which I kind of don't believe. And him saying that they have to wear body cameras from now on, that's really not enough. It has to be some kind of consequences for the officers that do participate in any kind of interaction with the community and don't have those body cameras on, or they have those body cameras turned off, because we've seen where that's been an issue also. There has to be some kind of advisory committee or review committee that has people from the community as well. I mean, you can put legal professionals in there, and I mean, there's a lot of people that can be in this advisory or review committee, but there has to be something other than them. You know, I think they said the only people that they're subordinate to is TBI. There needs to be people from the community, and I
Right.
think his words about that were that nobody from the community knows law enough to advise the sheriffs. It was something kind of, you know.
I have a question. You brought that up. I know here in California, we did a petition. I know it was led by Black Lives Matter to petition to have oversight committee over our sheriff's department out here
Yes.
because we had similar things to happen. And so that ballot measure passed. And so now not just professionals, but the community has oversight over them, subpoena power for sheriff's department. So is that something that you guys can advocate for, maybe getting something on the ballot
So we
to
do, yeah,
push that?
we do for our Knoxville Police Department, we do have what's known as
Yes.
PARC, which is the Police Advisory and Review Committee. The issue is that, it doesn't have a lot of teeth to it. They don't have subpoena power. The other issue is, I don't know how much you all paid attention to what happens in the state legislature here in Tennessee, but
yeah.
we've got lawmakers, here that are actually pushing against, to create these types of oversight committees for law enforcement. So that's the other challenge here.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, that was
Rashad.
also kind of like the reasoning behind the petition, because it's just trying to get a mass amount of people behind this right here. They are elected officials, and that is taxpayer money that they're operating off of. So, I mean, I figured that would with Tennessee is hard. It's hard in Tennessee.
It's very
Yeah.
hard. Yes.
Before we let you guys go, Rashad, one of the things I want to know is about the shirt you're wearing, the Community Assist Team. Is that part of what's going on there? You guys are activating, and if so, how mobilized are you?
This is actually I'm the Knoxville director of Renounce Denounce Gang Intervention Program. So Renounce Denounce is a CVI, Community Violence Intervention program, a nonprofit. We address all violence. Violence in the community isn't just violence perpetuated by the community members. It's also violence perpetuated by these institutions. It's also food deserts. I mean, anything that could cause harm to the community, we kind of address. It's we have reach with the community. We have ties with the community. So I mean, it's pretty much just getting these people. We're able to get the story out. We're able to get people active in some of these things. That's really my goal. That's my place in this whole thing. I'm just making the community aware of what's going on and what we can do, and letting them know what we can do about it as a community. Is that?
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, we
Okay.
appreciate it. The shirt it stands out, so I just wanted
Oh,
you to
yes.
address that. So renounce, denounce, community assist team. That's what I'm reading. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, so we really appreciate knowing what's going on there, as we do in other areas, because we think that it's important to bring information to our to the Black press,
Yes.
to our viewers, our readers, about what's happening with Black folks, no matter where you may be. Niele?
How can we learn more about this story, how to support, keep track of it? Can you give us some more information on how to stay in touch?
So we will continue to provide updates and information on Black with No Chaser. We've been working to highlight issues like this for the past several years since we were founded. So I just, keep watch on the Black with No Chaser Instagram page. Obviously, some of the local outlets here are also covering what's going on. And then also, the National Action Network has gotten involved. We have a Middle Tennessee chapter who did travel here, and they're going to be, raising awareness around what's going on as well. And then Rashad, obviously, his group is working here on the ground.
Then also, the petition is on change.org. Oversight and transparency for the Knox County Sheriff's Department. So the petition's on change.org. And then we're organizing a march for the families. The families said that they wanted to kind of tell their story. So it'll be a march and a press conference, and that'll take place April the 6th at 1:00. We're just kind of getting the details together. Probably yesterday we finalized everything and getting the flyers out and everything, but we will be marching and also sending that petition up past county commission now.
All right. And then, of course, Angela, we're still working to coordinate to have the families on to continue to amplify this story for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes.
Angela and Rashad, thanks for bringing this information to Let It Be Known News. We really appreciate the job both of you are doing out there, and we will keep following it.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Wow. So Niele, you hit on two, both Sandra Bland and
Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor. They both, wow, the
Similar
similarities.
stories. Yeah. And it happened within a week. Both these Black men were murdered by the hands of the police within a week. And so if you think that Black Lives Matter, grassroots is not important or is not needed, is needed more than ever. Because now with Donald Trump in office, he is giving them a free ticket to double down. And Dr. Melina Abdullah, she names it best, sanctioned violence by police. And they have the power to do that now. Let's not forget, policing came from slave catching. So the origin of the spirit of it is there.
And certainly there's no more civil rights division in the Department of Justice. There's no more Christian our girl, gosh, what is her last name? How am I forgetting her? Who did such an outstanding job in the 4 years that she held
Clark.
that
Christian
Clark. Yeah. I mean, she was tenacious and to say the least. And now of course this administration, nothing more needed to be said.
Yeah, well, we're working with Angela. We expect to have the families on within a couple of weeks to hear from them. National Action Network will come on and talk about it because now it's more important than ever that we, as the Black press, amplify these stories and make sure that our community knows about them because they're going to get buried in mainstream media now.
Yeah,
they're not important anymore.
They're not important. We're seeing mainstream media continually capitulate to what this administration is doing. They are under threat. Just over the weekend, Trump referred to MSNBC, and CNN as illegal. And so they're now expecting him to try and make a move there. He's basically torn apart Voice of America. He is kicked AP out of the Pentagon and the White House Oval Office. So he is trying to exercise control over every entity, and certainly that includes media. So we got to keep bringing these stories. You're right.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, and so I want to talk about your city though. Well, here's the thing with LA. You can recall or try and recall anyway the mayor on the most frivolous of grounds. And this is not just Karen Bass. I mean, she's the current mayor and they're going after her now, as we knew they would. But I think something needs to change in Los Angeles with that. They're still going after her, the fire, her handling of the fire. Where did she mishandle the fire? That's a question. I mean, what are they saying? How are they characterizing her mishandling this fire?
There's a lot of people that were impacted. And so I don't think that we should make their feelings or plea irrelevant. There was a
Right.
lot of mishandling of the fire. I mean, it just was.
Okay.
And it's not all her blame, but accountability is being demanded. And so as a mayor, I think this will speak to her leadership. I think that she is the woman for the job, and I think that she will stand up and do what needs to be done. But there are a lot of people who were impacted by those fires, and they should demand answers, and they should hold whoever's in office. Whoever is in office should be held accountable to those answers. Now, like you said, a recall is a recall. Do we think it's going to go anywhere? No, it's not going to go anywhere. But I just don't want to put it on, protecting her when there's a lot of people with legitimate questions that
Yeah, but
deserve answers.
okay. And from what I've seen, and you're there, so you see a lot more than I do. What I've seen is her standing up before those cameras. I see her taking questions, giving the answers. I just don't understand is what I'm saying, Nia. Where she responsible for these fires? LA has fires every single year, and LA has fires that get out of control. Not every year, but quite often enough. Because those Santa Ana winds are nothing to play with. When they start blowing, and you get this perfect storm, as it were, these fires just start raging. This
Well,
is nothing new.
here's the thing. So, there's talks of her office being warned, and at least 10 people within
Okay.
her department knowing what was happening. So you're saying that out of all these people that got these messages from whoever, you didn't know anything about it, number one. Number two, now there's a question of why were her text messages allegedly deleted? Why are you
Mhm.
deleting your text messages? So people have legitimate concerns, and I'm pretty sure she has answers for all of it. But she's not above the law. She has to answer the questions, and I'm a black woman who protects black women, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of open-ended questions that need to be answered. And so if the Los Angeles Fire Department chief can be fired for her lack of responsibility or accountability, then the mayor has to have accountability for what, she did. I think that she did the best that she could under the circumstances that have happened. And when she did get back to California, she took on her leadership role and did an amazing job. But you cannot say that she doesn't have to answer the questions. People have legitimate questions. People are homeless. People are not going to be able to rebuild their homes. They don't know if they're going to get all the money back from their insurance company. So, yeah, people have
And
questions
none of
and they
that is
want
Karen Bass's
answers.
fault. None of that is her fault.
I
The
don't think
fact
that you can say that. She's the mayor of the city. She's supposed
what
to be
whether
able to have practices and things in play to circumvent a lot of the things that happen. All I'm saying is if you're going to fire the chief of the LA Fire Department because they weren't held accountable, then you're subject to the same accountability.
let
That's
me
all
say
I'm
this.
saying.
I agree. With the little information I know about the fire chief, I just thought, why are you scapegoating the fire chief? I did that's, and again, I don't have all the information, but when you start talking about the insurance and the people and the fire, I cannot wrap my head in any way around how is that. I don't care if the mayor was Karen Bass or Karen, the racist in the supermarket. How is that their fault? I
I didn't
just
say
don't.
it was her fault. I said people
No,
want
I'm
answers
not saying you're saying
because
it.
they want
Right.
because of all of this. People want answers as to know how could this have been prevented. I think that somebody like a Rick Caruso who is playing now, I think that's unfair, but that's politics.
Mhm.
Rick Caruso is playing into all of this madness that is against our Mayor Bass.
Of
But
course he is.
one of the things that I found very interesting was he knew because guess what? He has property, he has commercial real estate in the Palisades. Guess what he did? He hired a private fire
Private
company
fire company, yeah.
to protect his properties
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
advance. So if
Mhm.
he has the resources to do that, But if a public citizen can prepare for a fire, why isn't our city prepared?
Well, here again, that's a legitimate question. But again, Niele, let's not. I lived there 7 years. You've lived there basically all your life, so you
My
know
entire
better.
life.
Your entire life, so you know. Again, you have a better grasp of this. But I do know, in the 7 years I lived there, there was a fire every year, caused in most part because of the Santa Ana winds.
No, this is
Um,
unprecedented, though. I'm sorry. I have
no,
to
I
stop
get
you.
it,
This
but
fire
wait,
was
no.
unprecedented. It was unprecedented.
Right, and we keep getting, so every time there's an unprecedented storm, the governor or the mayor or somebody should be fired.
No, I don't think so.
Right. That's
Yeah, but
is
I think
how do you blame them?
no, but I think the swirling of all of this is that if you're going to have the fire chief be held accountable, then
Mhm.
guess what? Accountability is going to roll like dominoes.
So
Okay,
maybe that was her mistake. Maybe that was her
maybe
only mistake in this, because again, let's forget, she hasn't been mayor but for a minute, right? And
it's like, yeah, to me, it's like the perfect storm, right? So her whole premise, which she has done an excellent job as to, fighting the unhoused crisis here in our city. This is something that you didn't even expect to happen. And to your point, we always have fire. So it's like, okay, it's a fire, whatever. But this, I mean, the entire city was in mayhem. The air quality where I live at, I was nowhere near the fires, but it impacted us. It impacted me. So this was something that was unprecedented. It wasn't prepared for. I think our city will be now more prepared for something like this to happen. So it's a growing and learning crisis, but it's not so much the crisis, it's about how you handle it. And maybe certain things weren't handled properly, but it's a learning curve, and so
they
I hope.
flew they flew airplanes into the World Trade Center in 9/11. Rudy
Mhm.
Giuliani, they they instead of saying let's fire him, they wanted to
I
keep
don't
him as
think that's the
mayor.
same thing. I don't think that you can
Well,
compare
wait
the
a minute.
two.
Could you expect it? And so I can answer how you could expect it the same way you were answering it. That you said that, yeah, okay, these fires, they should be more prepared. The World Trade Center was bombed a few years before it was they flew those planes in there. So there
Mhm,
there was and there were other threats against the World Trade Center before they actually took the buildings down with those planes.
mhm.
So I heard not one soul blame Rudy Giuliani.
And
Not one soul.
y- I'm not I'm not one to blame the
I'm
mayor.
not saying you
No,
are
no, no, no. I
yourself.
know, but what I'm s-
Yeah.
but the point is, I'm just saying I'm not one to blame the mayor. I also believe that we need, and I think that she's the right person he looks like, and to stand up for that.
Yeah. I agree. In a sense, what I agree with is the fact that, again, with my limited knowledge of what the fire chief did and didn't do, it seems like the fire chief was scapegoated. And once you do that, you're going down a bad path, because ultimately the buck, like you said, the buck does stop with you,
The
the
mayor.
mayor.
Right, right, right.
So
And I'm not saying it could have been to where, in private conversations and in certain circles within, city council, maybe the fire chief was undermining the mayor. Maybe she was, and
could have
a lot
been.
of time that happens too. And you can't have people around you if you're moving one way and thinking they're moving with you, but they're having backdoor conversations with city council members and commissioners and maybe opponents of the mayor. Who knows? And I understand maybe that's why but that's what I'm saying. It's like a chess game. You have to make the right
Hmm.
decisions. And I think firing her did her more of an injustice than it did her justice for moving forward with this situation, because it's not going to go away. And when
Yeah.
the election comes around, guess what? Now her opponent has an ally with the former fire department chief. And you have all of these disgruntled people from the Palisades who feel like, I don't know if I'm going that route again. So our mayor has a huge problem.
Yeah.
But if anybody can turn it around, it is Karen Bass.
Yeah, and other factor there too, as you know, Niele, you have folks who don't live in LA, claiming going after Karen Bass, and other they live in other jurisdictions claiming stuff about the fires. And Khloe Kardashian was one of the more famous people, and she doesn't live in Los Angeles city limits, and that's not her mayor, because she started saying our mayor is horrible. This, and she was talking about Karen Bass, and somebody had to remind her, no, she's not the mayor of Calabasas, California.
Right, right. And they're the
You
ones
know,
that hire private fire companies while the houses all around them burn. You know what I'm
exactly,
saying? So they are not
exactly.
community or neighbors. And
Yeah.
we already know Kim is catching flack. Since we're on the Kardashians,
Oh
she's catching
gosh,
flack because she's taking pictures on
on
Teslas.
top of Teslas and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Somebody needs to drive at a high speed with her on top of the Tesla. Let me tell you right now.
All
Shoot,
right.
and let a Tesla do what a Tesla does these
All
days.
right. All right. We have a couple quick, let's get into a couple of headlines that we need to let
All right.
family know about.
She said, "Let me
So
take him off that ledge."
yeah, let's take them off that ledge and keep these hot topics or quick trending headlines going. As we know, Southern University is still mourning the loss of Caleb Wilson, the young man who died in a hazing ritual at Southern University. So now we find out that the assistant band director, Safai Abdul Roth, is on administrative leave. He was placed on administrative leave 2 days after Caleb Wilson's death. And he also leads the graduate chapter and oversees the fraternity's campus chapter. So this story continues to unravel. We know that 3 people have been arrested. And now we find out that the band director and the gentleman over the graduate chapter has also been placed on leave. And so, I
Mhm.
mean, we're just that somebody, I know the family would appreciate accountability. And so we'll continue to
Yeah,
track that story.
Neil, and I gotta ask this question to everybody who's ever pledged: is it worth it? The hazing. I mean, why does hazing have to be included? Why does life threatening hazing? I mean, hazing can take on various forms, and it could be verbal and it could be physical. Is it? I mean, this has to stop.
It's illegal. Number one, it's illegal. Let's start there.
Oh man. So folks they just get off doing just horrible things to other people. Wh- eh, my
All in
thing
the
is, you
name
ain't
of
doing that to me.
brotherhood and sisterhood.
Mm, mm,
Let that
mm.
sink in.
Yeah, yeah. Come on. The how you survive growing up in the black family, folks, is not physical hazing. It's the dozens, really. You
Yeah,
get called out on everything. You get called all sorts of names, and that's the ritual that we are used to, especially if you're in a big family.
yeah. I every time I see a video of that young man Caleb, it just breaks my heart.
It's so heartbreaking.
It's
Yes.
heartbreaking. So our prayers continue to go out to his family and the students at Southern University as well as the faculty. All right, let's stay into some HBCU news. On a brighter note, congratulations goes to Fisk University's women gymnastics team. The ladies have become the first HBCU team to defeat NCAA D1 and D2 teams. So we know the young girl that went over to Fisk. She was supposed to go to a PWI and she chose to go to a HBCU, and she made the right choice because instead of being a number, she's making history. So congratulations to the ladies of Fisk University, and we can't wait to see some of y'all in the Olympics. Look at them girls
Mm.
go.
Wow. I just want to mention this real quick because Inferno 932 got up late because he says daylight savings time is still messing with him, but he says he's an airman and a firefighter, and Hazen was part of that culture. And I understand But anyway,
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that. But go ahead. What else you got on these
No,
hot
but that's
topics?
interesting to know because in the police departments, sheriff's departments, and
Mhm.
in fire departments, hazing happens. We didn't even think about that.
Yep, it's true.
Um, but let's get back to that Black girl magic, Black women's
Uh-oh.
excellence. It's Women's History Month, and shout out to SZA. Congratulations are in order for her as she becomes officially the longest running top 10 album by a Black artist in Billboard's 200 history. And guess who she surpassed? There you have it, Michael Jackson's Thriller. So
It's
she has surpassed
amazing.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it's amazing. When you think about you surpassing Michael and the Thriller sales and things of that nature, artists today are getting sales that only like Michael used to get and like Prince and Madonna and Springsteen used to get. They're getting that like it's, you know, nothing now. What's going on? People are just buying music. Is it just streaming is a little different, obviously, but does it make that big a difference?
I think so because you don't have to. I know my platform of choice is Tidal. And so yeah, you don't have to buy albums anymore. You could just play your song over and over and over again and it's just easier.
Wow,
So I
that
mean,
is
I don't know
amazing.
when's the last time that you bought an album, Stacy?
An album?
Uh-huh, a record, your album.
Oh my gosh. You mean a vinyl record?
No.
Oh,
A
you mean this?
album.
I
Yeah, a
haven't. I
project.
haven't.
A
But you
project.
know,
Yeah.
two of my daughters, they buy vinyl albums still,
I do too.
and they're
I do
very
too.
young.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
And
do.
albums have made a comeback. They sell them in Target now. You can order them online. And so for your favorite ones, like I had to have the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill
Oh,
on
yeah.
vinyl. You know,
Okay.
I had to have that Robert Glasper Black Radio on vinyl. So certain things, and then I have a collection that I inherited from a friend of mine's mother where I have Nina Simone, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On album. I have John Coltrane. I have all of these albums that I have what's the movie with Diane Carroll and
Oh,
Claudine. I got
Claudine.
Claudine
Yeah,
album.
yeah.
Yes.
One of the
Make
great
yours at
soundtracks there
home.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So albums are great. But
Marissa,
to
she
your
still
point,
buys vinyl.
I do too. Yeah, vinyl's hot
And
again.
she hit me to this spot in DC, this hotel, the Eaton. And
Hmm.
they have the DJ booths and stuff there, whatever, the music booth, studio type thing, and they got vinyl all over the place, and it's a really cool spot.
It's
I
so
never
cool.
listen. I never heard of the Eaton until she mentioned it before a
I
couple years
stayed
ago,
there
or
and I
whatever.
loved it. They have a speakeasy in the back.
Yep.
You can go into a little speakeasy. And then when you go in your room, there's a record player there and there are albums there. And if you don't like those albums, you can go downstairs and get you some, replace them, swap them out. Such a cool, nostalgic style hotel.
Yeah,
And I will be staying there.
we did a little filming in there. That was nice.
Yeah, we need them as a sponsor.
Yeah, we do. We definitely do.
And then the last story, our prayers go out to our Black Press family. Former Afro editor-in-chief Anthony McCarthy died on the 16th after a long battle with kidney disease. From kidney
Mm.
disease. So we definitely want to keep the Afro news in prayer as well as his family.
Well, on that note too, last week, Al Thomas, he published the South Jersey Journal, and he was
Mhm.
also an advertising exec for the Philly Tribune and for the National Newspaper Publishers Association. He also died last week too. So um, losing some folks in the Black Press family, and so we want to, like you said, keep their families in our thoughts.
Amen.
You see the amen.
Sincerely.
Oh gosh.
Did you see speaking of unfortunate death, did you catch any of Angie Stone's funeral?
No, I saw a couple pictures.
Oh yeah, somebody went up to speak, and the pastor told them to sit down. He said his name was in the book, and the pastor said, "I said sit down."
Oh, wait a minute now.
You didn't see that clip?
I know
That's the
what's the
clip
name?
that's going
Tyler Perry
viral.
spoke.
Yeah, he spoke. It was a 3-hour service. Kirk
You know,
Franklin did a
so
medley.
so Tyler Perry spoke, and I know I heard some of the words, and he talked about how Hollywood treats the entertainers, or the industry treats the entertainers and stuff like that. And sometimes all those these are facts. They're not new facts. And sometimes I just think that you get a person, and maybe Tyler Perry fits this, maybe he doesn't, who just goes up there and says stuff that just looking for applause. I mean, uh, you you're in a position. There are certain people in positions to do certain things, and not just talk about it for applause. And I think too many of them talk about it for applause. That's my opinion. Y'all
So
can hate
you
on that
thought
all y'all want.
you thought Tyler Perry was speaking for applause. Is
Tyler
that what
Perry is
you're
speaking
saying,
because
Stacy?
he's yeah. I think Tyler Perry is a fraud.
Oh,
That's I'm gonna tell you right now. I'll take
well, I
Medea
don't
over
feel
Tyler
that way,
Perry any
Tyler
day.
Perry. I don't
I do.
feel that way.
He's a fraud.
Love me some
Tyler,
Tyler Perry.
I know.
Now that's
I
somebody
just
who has taken the American dream and made the
mhm.
ancestors proud.
I know he and Oprah.
His studio sits on a Confederate base.
Uh-huh.
He has employed so many black people.
Uh-huh.
Some of his series can be a little cheesy, but we love it. We love Tyler
I
Perry.
think
Where's
Tyler Perry
Medea?
I think Tyler Perry has done more to set us back in cinema than any other black filmmaker there is.
No, sir. No, sir. Where is Medea? I love my Medea. She has the wisdom that we need. I love Medea. I'm sorry. I can't agree with you on this one, Stacy.
Oh man. Also, speaking of he said ouch. So, speaking of, on a serious note, Lisa Young Alston, the daughter of Andrew Young, also died at the age of 67
Oh,
yesterday. So that's sad. Our thoughts are with the former ambassador as he mourns the loss of his daughter, 67-year-old Lisa Young Alston. Uh, that's that's really sad. To lose a child. Anytime anybody loses a child, it is really sad.
mm, it is. It is. And then you worry about the elders like that because isn't he in his 90s, late
Yeah,
80s,
yeah. He's
90s?
93.
Hmm.
He's
Hmm.
93.
So you worry
Yeah,
about those
yeah.
our
And still
elders.
very, very lucid, very with it. Still, in his own ways, an activist among activists.
Hmm.
Andrew Young is still going at it, 93 years strong. So good for him. Again, sorry for his loss. That's a tough one. Want to do some Black History moments?
Yeah, kick it off.
Well, I like this one. On this date, folks, in 1946, Jackie Roosevelt Robinson made his professional debut as a member of the Montreal Royals in the Daytona Beach ballpark that now bears his name. Of course, the big story with Jackie was a year later, he broke baseball's color barrier and earned the inaugural Rookie of the Year award as a member of the Brooklyn Dodgers. Jackie batted .311 in 10 major league seasons and was named the National League's most valuable player. He was elected into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962, only 16 years after his historic debut in Daytona Beach. Awesome. And Major League Baseball, the one thing they do right, they certainly do right is, and they've been doing this for so long now. Um, is Jackie Robinson Day every day, and his number 42, has been retired in every from every team and in every stadium. It sits in the rafters, number 42, honoring Jackie Robinson. So that's one thing that they do constantly get right. Every year in April, there's a Jackie Robinson Day, and they honor him in a very unique way. That day, every team that's playing, every single player wears number 42.
Now, do you think that that will continue under a Trump administration, or will they say that's DEI and say you can't do it? Can't
That's a
do it.
very good point. And so the plans, the latest from Major League Baseball is that they're going to continue to honor Jackie in the same way they've been honoring him for the past couple of decades now.
That's what they say,
That's
right?
what they say, right?
Okay.
We gotta keep our eye on stuff like that. You're right.
We do, because we know that ironically, Arlington Cemetery, that's another story which is relative to this topic, how the Trump administration has erased from the website
Can you
Black,
imagine?
brown, and women heroes, medal service people, just erased them from the website.
Can
And
you
so now you don't
imagine?
even know who's in the cemetery. It's just like just the little white headstones. Horrible, horrible.
That is it's folks, and this is why. See, this is why when you have, and you made the distinction, there's a difference for the most part between a Republican and a MAGA Republican,
Right.
right? So when you, it's fine. We have and talk to Black Republicans, but what we cannot do is let Black MAGA dominate any conversation.
Well, we know you're
That's
not gonna let that happen on this show, so
so
I'm not
that's what we
worried about that. I'm gonna let
it's
you have that
you
one. They gonna
you
come
know,
back,
and
but
we
they not gonna dominate.
right. Come on, you got to. How do you Nia, how do you do that? How these folks served in the military, gave their lives, and because they're Black, because they're a woman, you are taking their names out of Arlington Cemetery. That is just, and there's no real uproar about it.
No, it's not. Those are the things that like break my heart. It's like at least 4 times a week, my heart is broken by something
What
that
goodness
Trump
grief.
clan administration does. It's just something at least 4 times a week. I'm fine. I might be fine today, and then tomorrow, it's just like, Lord, what we gonna do?
Well, you just told us that you are, by saying that, you just told us that you're a very resilient young lady. Because getting your heart broke 4 times a week is, man.
I'm serious. I'm serious. There's this song called by Cleo Soul called, I think it's called In the Light. But the lyrics are, I'm in a world that's changing. I'm in a world that's breaking my heart. That song, every time it hits, when it happens, I just play that song, because then the song also talks about tapping into your light. So that
Mm.
song is on repeat.
Administration just removed the Medal of Honor webpage for Major General Charles Calvin Rogers, the highest ranking African American to receive the award. And it gets even worse. Not only when you go to the website, you'll see a 404 page not found error, but the URL was changed from medal to DEI medal. The same people who told us that taking down Confederate statues erases history are currently deleting Black history. The Trump administration just removed the Medal of Honor webpage.
My heart just got broken when he said DEI. They put DEI on the U. That's hate. That is white supremacy. That
Straight up
is
hate.
just,
Straight up hate.
and it's 6:00 in the morning, and my heart is already broken. Thanks a lot, Greer. Thanks a lot. It was the DEI that did it for them to be so petty. That's petty. To change the URL to
Wait, time
DEI.
out. She said You said thanks, Greer. Greer said you're welcome.
I mean, it's 6:00 in the morning. My heart is already broken.
Inferno 932 says there's 5 stages of grief daily. So yeah, that's black skin, David. Oh my gosh.
That
Ah,
is just so petty. It's like I can just we are our ancestors'
and see,
wildest dreams, and they're their ancestors' wildest dreams. Okay.
and Orangey says a DE9 medal. Orangey says he earned a Bronze Star medal with velour, and he dare anyone to call it DE9. He will go full OJ if they do. But this is beyond petty. This is hate. This is as hateful as you can get. And this is what I said earlier. Um, along with that, I have never seen people win and be so doggone angry and nasty. You're on top. You're essentially untouchable. This guy has risen where no other president has ever gone before, has ever dared to go before. And yet the anger is so heavy in the air. It's
I think today that a well-educated black person, male or female, has a tremendous advantage over a well-educated white person. And I felt that for a long time. And I hope that anybody in the audience that's black and is watching can hear me say this. And I'm talking now as a person that employs thousands and thousands of people. A well-educated black has a tremendous advantage over a well-educated white in terms of the job market. And I think sometimes a black may think that they don't really have the advantage or this or that, but in actuality, today, currently, it's a great. I've said on occasion, even about myself, if I were starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black because I really believe they do have an actual advantage today. I think
he's operating. He's operating like that. Okay. He is operating based upon his thoughts.
a black. That's the other part of it. It doesn't say a black individual, black person, black man, black woman, a black. The blacks. Remember he said that too? The blacks. Give me a break. Here's another Black History moment. Speaking of leaders, on this date in full on Nazi, yes, on this date in 2008, David A. Patterson was sworn in as governor in New York. He was the first legally blind American governor, the first black governor of New York State, and only the fourth black governor of any state at that time. He had been serving as lieutenant governor of New York, and he was elected in 2006 after serving in the state Senate since 1985, where he represented Harlem. He became the first non-white legislative leader in New York State history when he became minority leader of the Senate in 2002. So there you have it. David Patterson makes our Black History moments. One other note on David Patterson: in 2004 in Boston, he was the first visually impaired person to address the Democratic National Convention. So David Patterson makes our Black History moment.
I remember him.
You remember him?
I
Yeah.
remember him. Mm-hmm. But it's also Women's History Month, and since we're highlighting Mr. Patterson, a former governor that was in politics, we have a woman that's in politics that we're celebrating. Born on this date in 1955, Cynthia Ann McKinney was born. Now, she was a member of the Democratic Party, and she served 6 terms in the United States House of Representatives. She was the first African-American woman elected to represent Georgia in the House.
Wow.
So we celebrate her today.
Well, folks, share your Black History moments in the chat as well. Make sure you hit like and share. And if you have nothing else right now, Niele, we can go to the Black-owned newspaper of the day.
Yeah, we were so close. Well, I was so close. You're very close. I'll let you take it because that's on your coast.
The Baltimore Times was birthed in the kitchen of Joy Bramble, at 1800 Madison Avenue in November of 1986. I remember this story well. She tells a great story about this. Starting out as a monthly publication, the Baltimore Times soon became a newspaper its readers couldn't do without. Readers depended on the Times for truthful reporting, articles about their neighbors, family, and friends, and quite often themselves. Taking a bold step, the next month, the Brambles decided to publish the paper on a weekly basis. As the Times grew in its popularity and gained unwavering loyalty and respect among its readers, who also shared the paper with others who lived in other regions of the state, the Brambles realized that an expansion was in order, and over time, they began publishing the Annapolis Times, the Shore Times, the Prince George's County Times, and of course, the Baltimore County Times. And today, readers enjoy the Baltimore Times and the Annapolis Times newspapers, as well as a host of events, activities like health expos, educational forums, workshops, and seminars that are directed toward communities most affected by the disparities in healthcare, business, finance, and other areas that impact the quality of life. The Baltimore Times is our Black owned newspaper of the day. Congratulations, as always, Joy, Bramble, and Peter. We can't leave Peter out. What a job that they do over there at the Baltimore Times.
Awesome, awesome. And don't forget, let it be known, family, for the latest in Black news that is impacting and uplifting our community, just head on over to BlackPressUSA.com and you can find out what's happening across the country in Black America.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow.